World Environment Day is the United Nations version of World Earth Day, and it occurs annually on June 5th every year, and it encourages worldwide awareness and action for the environment. First celebrated in 1973, a different country hosts each year, and the day is the UN's principal vehicle for encouraging worldwide awareness and action for the environment. Over the years, it's grown to a broad global platform for public outreach that is widely celebrated by stakeholders in over 100 countries. It also serves as a People's Day for doing something positive for the environment, galvanizing individual actions into a collective power that generates an exponential positive impact on the planet. This year's theme, Raise Your Voice, Not the Sea Level. And the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, is renewing its call for a fresh approach to environmental protection, on which recognizes the intricate and deep connection between protecting the environment and human development. In its latest report released just last April, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates that the cost of ambitious climate change mitigating will reduce economic growth by 0.06% annually. However, the underlying estimates do not take into account the economic benefits of reduced climate change. And against this backdrop, UNDP is working to move away from a climate change discourse focused on trade-off between economic growth, poverty, and environment, to one that looks at how to advance these three strands of sustainable development together. Sadly, that is a true depiction of what is happening to our climate around the world right now. And it is no coincidence that we are getting flooded in. It is no coincidence that our lands in the north are drying out. It is no coincidence that bushfires are, engulfing us wherever we are across the world. Our climate is changing, and it's all happening because of the way we are treating the environment. It's amazing that the environment as it is impacts on us, but we impact on it negatively. We are the same people who throw trash about, draining, putting them in our drains, choking our gutters. The same people who use the beaches for free-range action when we need to use the loo. We are the same people who, instead of putting the trash in a litter container, who rather throw it on the street. We are the same people who are jeopardizing our environment. And it's rather unfortunate that you and I are facing this now. What future, what kind of environment are we leaving for the people who are coming, generations yet unborn? I am yet to have any children, and I dread what they would be coming into. And so it takes a collective effort of you and I changing the way we do things. It's not enough that I'm just standing here talking about it. It is not enough that you send me your comment and I read it on air for everybody to know that you have sent a comment. What it needs is for you to change your attitude towards the environment. It's for me to also change my attitude towards the environment. And then perhaps we might be able to claw back what has already been done. I'll go on social media and take your comments. But when we come back, we have the situation as it pertains here in our country, and you would actually have you'll be shocked to see what is happening here. What you saw was what was happening in someone's country. But would it change your mind? Or would your attitude change if you saw what was happening in your own country? That's food for thought. Let's take some comments I've been dropping on social media. Precursor is already there, that today is World Environment Day, and that was instituted by United Nations, and it is their version of Earth Day. And it's been raining the whole day today. The AMA last year said demolishing of houses on waterways and desilting of drains would avert flooding, but this hasn't happened. And what, in your opinion, can really avert this? I'm throwing it out to you out there because you are the same people who perhaps are causing this. So what do you think you can do to stop this? Christian Salvo starts off to say, Marian, have a wet evening. Well, we are also experiencing a heavy downpour at Cape Coast since yesterday night, but there is no flooding here. As for AMA, they always make empty talk and promises. They should act and stop making the promises, because action speaks than words. We want to say louder than words. They should sit up and find a better solution rather than what they are doing all this while. Better late than never. This one is coming from Michael. This is a problem that goes far beyond demolition of houses. Our drainage systems are very poor to the extent that when it rains, it takes too long a time before the running water moves away. Gutters should be well dug to allow raining water to flow freely. Gilbert is sending this in from Bogatanga, and you are saying when the issue of sanitation arises, we're always quick to chastise government, forgetting that we all are the government. What have we done as individuals to help complement the efforts of government? All we can do is to choke the few drainage created with waste material. Let's all help the government to arrest the situation and stop running away from our responsibility. Ghana is for all and not for an individual. Well said. But I am hoping that you won't only say this, but you will act it yourself, and that perhaps you will be seen as the big mouth in your area, in your community, should you go out and talk and say something when someone is doing something wrong. But rather be called a big mouth than leave nothing to the generations that are yet unborn. So perhaps you should be citizen vigilante in your area. When someone does something which is not right, call them to it. And this one is coming from Batam Simile. I think that's how you pronounce your name, but if I butchered it, sorry. Our government has nothing for we Ghanaians. In terms of flooding in our communities, NADMO is no more in existence in my community. Ghana for us. NADMO, yes, NADMO. When I start talking about NADMO, I'm sure that will be another show altogether. I believe in preemptive measures, something that would be put in place to stop what could eventually happen. So rather than wait and let it happen, and then later on you still don't have capacity to deal with it, I don't know. I won't go too far. Bonti Benjamin says, and he sent this in from Akim Abrokwa. Flooding takes over our major cities, 57 years of independence in the authority of the land, and the authority of the land is unconcerned. This is slavery, suffering, heartbreaking, and much more pity. Congrats, JM. You are indeed a failure, really. It's JM's fault, huh? Roland Yaboa says, good evening, Marian. Seriously, I think overcrowding is one of the most commonest things that contributes to areas being flooded. Another cause of flooding is the huge refuse dumps being kept in the centers of town and not cleared. All these two factors are factors that, if steps are not taken to solve them, any little rain in these localities, you will see it being flooded. And this one is coming from Kuda, says, this is serious. It would, we didn't find concrete solutions to this problem. Okay, we didn't, as in, have we sought one? This one is coming from Kwashi. Kwashi says the floods are in again. Everybody is blaming the government, AMA, city planners, engineers and authorities, but themselves. Haven't forgotten the plastic and bottles were improperly disposed by ordinary Ghanaians with unhealthy sanitation attitudes. Well, until we have an attitudinal change, the floods would always occur, and perhaps more destructive. Proudly Ghanaian, God bless Ghana. And that, I'm going back to the use of these plastics. I quite remember when I was a child, when you bought something, you got them in paper bags. They were in brown paper bags. You bought wachi, and the wachi was presented to you in a leaf. Suddenly, I don't know what happened, the government policy came up, the plastic bags were good for us, and then the black bags started flooding the nation. And now there's no end in sight. When government and when the people who matter go and sit down at the roundtable meetings looking for their 10% kickbacks, I don't think they look at the long-term effects of all of these things. Because nobody actually forces us to sit down our throats for us to take it. We use paper bag, and you're saying, okay, we are felling trees to create paper. So the rubber is okay. The rubber doesn't decompose. In the long term, it would still have been better if we stuck to our paper bags and buying our wachi in leaves. And now the wachi sellers are coming back to using the leaf, but still giving you rubber bag. So it's your choice. Either you say, hey, when I buy wachi, I don't want you to give it to me in a plastic bag, so I'm bringing a bowl, or I want it in a leaf. Because if you don't want it, they won't buy it. So perhaps we all need to change our minds about it. I don't want a rubber bag. It's just like going to buy water. I buy a plastic bottle of water, and the vendor adds another rubber bag, and I'm wondering, what am I going to use a rubber bag for? And she said to put the water in. Then I'm thinking, no, I don't need it. Keep it for something else. I buy milk, I buy Milo. She gives me one bag for each item. Waste. So it starts with you and I asking to get less rather than more of something that is going to choke our drainage system. Fine, recycle the rubber when you use it. I use mine for trash. When I buy things and they give it to me and I take it home, I have small trash cans in the bathrooms and in the toilets and in the living room. I recycle and use them. And so I get more use out of it, perhaps, than some of you would. So let's change our attitudes. I think that would help going forward. We'll take some more comments and then take our final video blog. And this one is coming from Owusu Banahene Emmanuel. Authorities should construct barriers like flood walls, beams, etc. to protect flood water from entering into buildings. This will help greatly to prevent flood damage. They should also seal the walls of basements with waterproofing compounds so as to avoid seepage. Really? I mean, the person is building and they can't even afford money for all the materials. And so they are cutting corners. And you are asking them to what? To go and find waterproofing compound. That one is another issue. So you see, it all goes down to, if you can't afford it, don't start it in the first place. Most important, individuals should avoid throwing things on the environment. Okay. And hashtag WED, World Environment Day. Okay, our final video blog is in, and this is just to let you know what is happening in your own backyard. The first video you saw was what was happening across the world. This is what is happening here in Ghana. Let's take this. Yeah, so that was a sad Ghanaian story. World Environment Day, and this is what is happening to us here. So you're not far removed from it. Whatever is happening across the world is also happening here in Ghana. It will take a major change for things to turn around so that your future generation, your kids and my kids, would have a better Ghana to come to. This is food for thoughts. That's why we drop the curtains for today's show.